So 6 in a heat here in Lillehammer, early days of this World Cup sprint. The men have got another, what, 15 minutes or so before they will be in action. And I can tell you that Klæbo fans, he is going to be going in the first heat. If you want to see something spectacular, tune in to see that. I expect he'll be running pretty much all the way through to the end of the competition today. Good start from Katarina Hennig. She's gone hard on the first hill, as has the Russian Natalia Neprayeva, who finished 9th last weekend, just missed out on a top 6 slot.
Katja Vizhnar, far right, bib number 5. Good qualification bib numbers. She qualified in 4th last weekend in Ruka, but finished down in 17th, getting her strategy a little wrong. Hopefully she's got it right this time.
Harsham going way left there to get out of the tracks and onto the softer snow. So that might suggest that the Norwegian, wearing bib number 10, is on slightly too little wax or hard wax. We'll see what she does on the next climb.
Possibly. This heat, well, I know the first heat was 3 seconds faster than the second. Now, I think this is going to be, at the moment, 2 seconds slower than the second heat, 5 seconds slower than the first. The pace needs to lift up.
Well, 1:25 under the bridge. That will give us a good cue for how they're getting on. Looking for a time, remember, of 3:25, 3:24.30, the fastest recorded so far. Second heat, 3:27.
Well, Neprayeva setting, well, she was only 1/10, bib number 3. She was 1/10 off the fastest time in qualifying. So she's taking all the initiative, leading this one. Now she's picking it up.
Ironically, you get the slow heats when everyone thinks they can qualify. It's only when you think there's no way I'm finishing in the top 2. I've got to go 100% from the gun to get myself through to the next round. This hasn't been strikingly fast.
It's picking up now, and quite rightly so, to get your right alignment, to get your best position over the top of this crest.
But Faller of Norway was very, very quick up this climb, fastest we've seen so far. 17 is Ida Ingmarsdottir, 8th in the World Cup standing sprint last year, so she's right up there. 25, Scardoni of Italy. And left out the back, who's that? Is that Vizhnar who's been left behind? No, Vizhnar's in that leading group.
So far, so good for Vizhnar. She's placed well.
Oh, I think it must be Hennig of Germany, actually, suffering, as did Sandra Ringvald, but we got a tight fight, 2 going through automatically, and it's still Neprayeva of Russia who leads this one. Look how she bends those arms on the recovery, trying to up the tempo in the double pole, and it's Neprayeva still with a metre over Ingmarsdottir of Sweden, but Ingmarsdottir's coming back. Doesn't matter if she just needs to make sure she finishes in the top 2, and Norway's Harsham is going to have to wait and see. 3:26 for Harsham. I'm not sure that is quick enough, but we'll wait for confirmation. And the fact that there's no green light there would normally indicate that Harsham has not done enough. The lucky losers in Heat 1, 3:25.35 was the slowest of them. So Ida of Norway still has a slot in the semi-finals.
I must say, the pace really did pick up with 1:30 to go. A little pedestrian to begin with, but Neprayeva really picking the pace up into the last minute. 3:26. Well, for 3rd place, photo finish for the first 2, so just under 3:26 for this heat. Yeah, there's the time, 3:25.58 for Neprayeva. Ingmarsdottir, that was powerful finish for her to grab that second position, all-important second position.
Heat 4 of 5, and it contains the world champion from Sapporo way back in 2007. Linn Sumskar for Sweden is alongside Jakobsen, then Heidi Weng, the defending champion no less here in Lillehammer. Can she do it again? I think it's unlikely. Murat of Norway. If one doesn't perform, there's always someone new ready to take their place in the Norwegian team. Sadie Bjørnsen, and Bjørnsen second last weekend. Fantastic run when you consider she was 23rd in the world last year. And of course, we've got Hanna Falk of Sweden, who was ranked 3 in the world last year. So quite a high quality field. Falk ranked 3 last year, Weng ranked 4. And of course, Jakobsen, we mentioned, a former world champion, but her sprinting not quite on the sort of form we saw then.
Well, it's a full 17 minutes, Patrick, since the first of the heats. Now, Sadie Bjornsson, she had the option to take that first group, so she's 17, well, it'll be more, 19 minutes less recovered than those who, like Fala, who won heat 1. But I do like her thinking. She's got herself bib number 1, then the next closest is 13, then 15, then 16. On paper, she's 3 seconds faster.
Now, I've seen 3 or 4 little slips from Sadie Bjornsson, and particularly on that right-hand leg. That will be a concern to her. Do you think the thinking about choosing Group 4 is, let's have an easy run in the first round? Let's hope that all the big guns go in Groups 1, 2, and 3.
That's got to be our thinking, that technically all the big numbers are going to take the first 3 groups. And I think it's a brave option. And it certainly didn't do her any harm up in Ruka last weekend.
Yeah, she did 3:22.45 in qualifying. The next best from this group was Murud of Norway, 3:25.69. So over 3 seconds difference. On that, you'd think that Sadie Bjornsson could just take her time. And this one's being strung up. The 2 Swedes are struggling a little, Sumskar and Hannah Falk.
No, Harsham has just been, as we saw, that's the previous heat, been given a yellow card, obstruction. Didn't see it, but the jury did.
Well, we did see a little asterisk opposite both Harsham and Ingmar's daughter, but Harsham didn't go through anyway.
It didn't work.
The yellow card's not going to affect her today.
Look at the spread here. This is without doubt just 3 at the front, so 3 have been left behind. It's a burning pace.
Now, Bjornsson's got a lead, but she needs to double it or treble it, because Murud, the youngster from Norway, starting to really push, number 13, and she's got her teammate Heidi Weng on the left-hand side. Heidi Weng won't give up. She'd love to defend this title. I think if Weng gets through to the final, that would be a good day's work.
Murud just beginning to fade. She's losing the grip, and Murud brought in this weekend from winning in Gala last weekend, an FIS race in the sprint competition.
Do you think Weng's got any chance of defending her overall World Cup win this year?
Hasn't she? Has not looked strong. This time last year, I think, without Marit Bjørgen here, it gave her and Isberg a huge amount of self-belief, but she doesn't look quite the same for me. And maybe the strategy's different, Patrick, with it being an Olympic season. Well,
I think it's going to be a fascinating season, obviously because of the Olympics, but also the World Cup, because some of the big names like Fowler, I suspect, will miss some major events. Bjørgen likely because of the Olympics, because of the family. But at the moment, top 5 in the World Cup standings: Kalla, Bjørgen, Haga, Weng and Nielsen. That is some quality. Now, let's see who wins this little battle between Sadie Bjornsson of USA.
But look at the gap, Patrick.
Yeah.
They're going to make the top 2, but they really are killing themselves out there. I would imagine the coaches will be saying, save something for the finals.
Heidi Weng, good finish, 3:22, and
that's an excellent
Murud,
time.
with that strong performance on the last climb, has done 3:24.5, which puts her ahead of Mari Ida. So she's knocked one of her own teammates out of the running, and I think it's quite close between the second and third, the 2 lucky losers at the moment. Just trying to let you know, Usberg still has a 3:22.5.
3:24, actually, 3:24.
3:24.5, so she's still in the lucky loser spot, and Murud on 3:24.5 has exactly the same time. One heat to go in this first round. Thea Kroken-Murud will be delighted. She's now looking as though she can take a top 12 place in this World Cup. But what will happen in heat number 5? We're about to find out. Lorian van der Graaf, top 15 of the World Cup sprint standings last year. Quite an impressive season for her. Anna Svensson of Norway, one of only 2 Norwegians to qualify for the top 30 in Ruka last week. Justina Kowalczyk, you'll know all about her. Former overall World Cup winner, lying in 20th place in the World Cup standings at the moment, but it's all about February for her. Stina Nielsen, potential overall World Cup winner, certainly. Second in the sprint standings last year behind Faller and Marit Bjørgen. Well, she's been around a bit. 111 World Cup wins. Incredible. Madvieva, I wonder how often she's won Sports Personality of the Year in Norway, I think.
God, just a legend, 111 World Cup wins. Phenomenal. Well, Marit did get a good start there with all the praise.
It was about 111 seconds before she started. That's a dreadful stuff. But actually, that was tactical. She doesn't want to be in front. She wants to wait, climb this first hill as steady as she can without losing touch with the leaders. And then we'll see what happens. Does this suit her? The faster the course now, the less it suits Marit Bjørgen.
I think you're right, and I was just thinking there, over all her years of competition, 16, 17 years in the World Cup, we very rarely have seen her start in Group 5. She's always had a better option. She only qualified in 21st, so she didn't have an option, and that's a factor which maybe speaks for itself. Doesn't quite have the speed at the moment in sprints.
Anna Svensson leading. Marit Bjørgen, of course, started her career sort of in 2002, 2003. No one could touch her on the sprint courses. Then, of course, she got better and better and better at the distance races, and now she can just about hold her own, but nowhere near as classy as she used to be on the sprint course. And I'm just wondering how much psychological damage last weekend did when Charlotte Kalla absolutely burnt her off.
Yeah, that was interesting. Charlotte just had a different gear, a different gearing, and destroyed her. But when you look at this course profile, is Marit being sensible, keeping out of trouble? And is she saving it for the super strong arms in the final 250 meters? We'll have to wait and see.
Kowalczyk on the right, and on her own alongside Stina Nielsen, who wears the red bib as the sprint leader, having won in Ruka for the 2nd year in succession, incidentally. Great performance by Stina Nielsen. Wasn't quite as convincing as it was in November last year, but she's still got a strong finish, and that's what these other skiers have got to watch out for. Russia's Natalia Matvieva in 3rd place. Just needs to find a good position. Marit Bjørgen loses a lot of time coming down that hill and finds herself 15 meters off the lead of Justina Kowalczyk. It's time to start working if Marit Bjørgen wants to go through to the semi-finals. Matvieva leading by a couple of centimeters over Kowalczyk, and now on the far side, a good move from Nielsen, but here comes Kowalczyk. She just ups the tempo, lengthens the stride. A response from Marit Bjørgen. She's made a little bit of ground as she goes past van der Graaf of Switzerland, but it's still Kowalczyk who's leading, and we've seen her storm away on this climb many, many times. So Kowalczyk, Nielsen looking good, and 2:40 on the clock. They need to be under 2:24.5 if they want to get a lucky loser.
Look at Marit Bjørgen right at the back. Even with those super strong arms, she's got an awful lot of work to do to get up beside Kowalczyk.
Now this is looking much better from Kowalczyk. She was nowhere near as sharp as this a week ago. A little bit of racing seems to have done her good. Nielsen won't give up on this one, and
well, Nielsen's coming through like a rocket now.
Yeah, they'll probably have a look over their shoulder and see just how much ground. The Swedes did really well on ski preparation last week. They've been doing well in Östersund as well with the skis, and it's Nielsen who's got the stronger finish. Is Marit Bjørgen going to play a part later on? No, she is not. So she'll stay on 111 wins. Nielsen has a chance of taking her tally up. Kowalczyk, well, she got over 50, reached that 50 mark last year. Can she start to improve on that?
Do you know, I'm so happy to see Kowalczyk. There she is, through. And the last time she raced here in Lillehammer, she won. It was over 54 kilometers, and it was the Birkebeiner Marathon. Carrying 3 kilos on her back on that occasion. But yeah, Kowalczyk, there she is. She slows down an awful lot at the end. I thought she was going to be past there, but she didn't even reach out with her leg. But she's safely through in 2nd.
You're not going to impress any biathletes saying they've got to carry 3 kilos.
Well, that's right. Biathlon are closer to 4.
That's the one where Sumby got run over last year by a skidoo.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah,
did he
still got up and won it. But
he still won it, yeah. Yeah, no, that got all the front pages, didn't it? Norwegian's greatest taken out. Marit just wasn't comfortable, Patrick. She did come through well. There she is on our right-hand side. She got back up into fourth, I think it was.
Yeah, she was roadblocked by Van der Graaf on that inside track, and although it looked nothing, it just takes that little bit of puff out of you that you need for the final 150 meters. Matvieva not quite quick enough to qualify, so Østberg has gone through as a lucky loser, 3:24.5, and Murud of Norway, her time rounded down to 3:24.48. So two lucky losers, both coming from Norway. And now the women have a little bit of a breather. It's the turn of the men. Now this heat is worthy of a final. We've got Klæbo, who is the master of the moment. Pellegrino in picture, who is the world champion, having taken the title in Lahti last year. What an occasion for him that was last year. 12 is Sergei Ustiakov, second in the World Championships, and angry at that, but he was the man of the season for most of the season last year. This man won the sprint standings last year. He was third in Lahti, so we've got gold, silver and bronze from the World Championships, and they're all standing next door to each other, and it's only the first round. Extraordinary. And then, of course, we've got Paul Goldberg, who won in Ruka last year, finished second in Ruka this year, so he's no slouch. Poor old Vitsenko, how's he going to cope?
I think he's intimidated by all those names and all those times and all those records beside him.
And Richard Uve of France, he certainly looks the part. Will he be the part? We'll see.
And the snowfall no longer a factor. It's not happening. So this is going to be fast.
First heat of the men's. 30 qualified. Petter Northug not qualifying, but Evan Northug did, and he will go in group number 4. So Klæbo, a reminder, fastest qualifier by a whopping 4.3 seconds. Extraordinary stuff. He's in the yellow bib, having raced 3 times this year and won every single time. Although we should say that Klæbo did not produce the fastest time in that 15K freestyle, which was a pursuit race, but he was first across the line, which is essentially what matters.
Well, he has that incredible sprint finish. Interesting how this is going to pan out. And when he made his selection, Klæbo, for this group, he had no hesitation. He wanted Group 1. Well, I don't think he will have expected so many other big names alongside him.
Yeah, the chances are we're going to get at least one lucky loser from this heat, but the pace actually is not quick, and it's the rest of them showing Klæbo a little bit of respect, Mike, at the risk of getting knocked out in the first round.
And if you compare this to what Klæbo did last weekend, he just went electric, full speed from the gun to the line each time of asking. This time he's being tactical, and because of his super tempo, he clearly thinks that he'll destroy all of these athletes beside him on the final climb, therefore to get 5 meters heading back into the stadium. That must be his strategy. It's really not that fast at the moment.
125 to the Le Grier Hill, and we'll see what happens. Under the bridge is a good place to take a split time just to get an idea of how they're going. Let's say 1:39.5.
And this is the extra 100 meters the men do compared to the women. Now it's beginning to pick up just a little. As you say, Ustiakov there closest to us. He definitely looks more sparky this weekend compared to last weekend.
Yeah, and the fact that all 6 are still there, an indication that the pace is still pretty slow. Now, still that big climb to come, Mike, the crucial one. Ustiakov already stepping up the pace. What are we going to see from Klæbo? Do you think he'll go ballistic?
I think he will go absolutely turbo mad, but he's still got a bit of a crowd around him, and there's a little danger on this bottom left-hander. I thought he would buy himself some space. He's now in second place.
Fastest qualifying time, 3:28. This is looking more like it's going to be 3:38. Ustiakov leading, Klæbo in second place.
This is where he's going to turn it up. They're all going to turn it up, but you just expect Klæbo just to start running soon. Beautiful, incredibly strong upper body now. He's developed that even more through the summer, and there he goes, running. Can anyone match that run?
Have a look at that. Well, it won't be long. It's a bit like the V style in ski jumping, Mike. People wondered and laughed to start with, and then they realised that it was 10-15% more effective. The next season, everybody was doing it. I think we're going to see everyone stomping up the hills before too long.
Well, I noticed that Jess Diggins was doing it, and it's clearly you can create more tempo. There's a lot more relaxation in the working leg as it goes back.
And I think the key is, once the hill is so steep that you don't get any glide, you might as well run.
Why not? I remember coaches always saying, oh no, that rear leg has to be absolutely straight to counterbalance. Rubbish. It's more efficient this way.
So it's going to be Klæbo and Ustiakov who go through. Paul Goldberg, I'd be surprised if this was quick enough to get a lucky loser, but we'll have to wait and see.
Look at the time. It's 12 seconds slower than Klæbo did in the qualifying.
3:40.7.
Wow. He's shaking his head. I wonder what his problem is there.
I think he's saying that was a long way. That was a long way. And we mentioned it at the start of the programme, Mike. Producing such a fast qualifying run is perhaps not the best idea.
I wonder what the problem is. Wax not working?
Well, he's got a big team to look after his skis. Klæbo, Ustiakov 1 and 2, Goldberg, Pellegrino 3 and 4. So we've lost Ruka's winner from last year. We're likely to lose Federico Pellegrino, the world champion, not on his best form quite yet. Vitsenko and Juve, as we expected, both getting knocked out in the first round.
Well, I'm just wondering if Goldberg, who took second last weekend, is that time good enough? I don't think it is to make it through to the semi-final.
Finland's Lillehammer Niskanen making his way to the start for heat number 2. Just a couple of youngsters, Riseth and Valnes for Norway, wearing 6 and 10. Theodor Pedersen is here, who's had a couple of really good seasons. There he is, number 15, qualifying in 15th.
He went to the wrong end of the grid. He was wanting the far right, but this is his rightful place.
Number 10, Erik Valnes. The next generation of Norwegian. Already, I mean, look at the strength of these guys. The upper body work that's being done now must be, what, 200% more than they used to do in the 90s and the noughties. Emil Jönsson, missed him last weekend. Such an exciting skater, or classic racer in particular, Jönsson. Lillehammer Niskanen had a bit of bad luck with illness and injury, Jönsson, over the years at critical times. Hopefully this is the season that he can stay fit and healthy all the way through. And then we've got Fosley on the right-hand side, well, actually on the left-hand side as we look at it now. He's wearing number 13. So Riseth, Jönsson, Valnes of Norway, Niskanen of Finland, Fosley of Norway wearing 13, and Theodor Pedersen wearing 15, starting on the right-hand side of that grid.
And 3 Norwegians, Patrick, in this heat, and 12 Norwegians making it into the top 30. Now, we mentioned earlier, Petter Northug was outside that time. He didn't qualify by just less than a second. But this is quite easy maths for the selector, saying, well, Petter, you're only 13th in Norway right now. And that'll be troubling for Petter Northug. He was hoping for a medal in this event at the Olympic Games, because it is classic this time at the Olympics. Niskanen just deciding he needs to be out front. The pace needs to be strong.
Yeah, bold move from Niskanen, and it may well pay off. Remember, the top of the first big hill at 125. We'll see if they can match that. Under that bridge at 139 was the first group.
Just looking at Niskanen's technique, hopefully I'm sure we'll see it again. He's just so efficient. His moves are so efficient in the classic technique. Keeping his hips forward, good hip rotation as well.
Erik Valnes wearing 10. Here we go, and they're a long way up. They're at least 5 seconds. I think they're closer to 6 seconds clear of the time set by that first group. So we should be under the bridge in around 133, maybe even down as far as 132. 32, 33 exactly. So they got a good margin.
That's a big margin, and you just expect with the 3 Norwegian suits and back 3 places, the whole pace is going to pick up.
And all 6 are still in this one, but it's Niskanen who's doing the donkey work out front. 13th last week. That's why he's going hard, Mike. He was the first or the last man to get knocked out in the first round. Didn't make it through to the semis. He doesn't want to finish 13th again.
He's learned from that. He's not the most, in my opinion, not the most powerful finisher. The Norwegians, the 3 Norwegians in this lineup have got a very dynamic double poling technique.
Yeah, Niskanen's going to have to shake them off on the last climb. One little climb to come.
Here's the recovery.
The steep section starts at around 240. Round the approach, important to carry speed on that corner. That was nice skiing from Niskanen, and here we go, 1 or 2 of the athletes accelerating, 2 of the Norwegians. I think that's Valnes who's in there as well. Number 13 is Sondre Torvold Fosli, who's in the perfect position as they start the big climb. 11 on his right-hand side is Leivo Niskanen of Finland, who's led all the way so far. Well, they're a long, long way ahead of the previous group, and that's an impressive bit of skiing from Fosli. Oh, he just pressed the button, away went the tempo, and he stormed over the top. A Klæbo-esque technique, but not quite the same.
Not quite. He was sliding, he was using at least a glide factor, and he's destroyed Niskanen in that simple move. And a lot of that move came from his double poling up into the hill, and Niskanen just could not live with that upper body strength. Niskanen now needs to be a little careful. He's going to be closed down from behind. It's looking good at the front, though, for Fosli.
3:41.3 is the lucky loser time. Fosli certainly is going through. Niskanen, unless he falls, is going through. And Fosli winds it down with 30 meters to go. Sensible skiing from him. Niskanen is safely through, and Pedersen on 3:39.9, and Risse currently sitting in the lucky loser spot.
Yeah, so that was just over 2 seconds faster, and they really slowed down at the end compared to the first heat.
So they did all the work early on. And as you say, Fosli didn't really have any competition in the last 100 meters, so he's looking good. He's almost as wide as he is tall.
And that's great tactics. He didn't get too excited early on. He knew that upper body strength would pull him through towards the end.
So there's confirmation. Fosli, Niskanen, they're safe. Pedersen, Risseth, they might well make it. Welcome back, just in time for heat number 3. They're get underway. I'll just run through the order. 29 nearest the camera. That was Skård of Norway. His teammate Stordas wearing 28. Polteranen is in 23 for Kazakhstan in the black and yellow suit. Eirik Bransdal also from Norway. 3 Norwegians in this heat. He's got 14. Kalle Halvorsen, who was in sensational form in this race last year, he's wearing 5. And then the fastest qualifier, one Alexander Bolshanov of Russia, under 23. He's wearing bib number 2 on the far side. He is the real deal, Mike. He's strong, he's got great endurance, and he's got a good racing mind, getting his first podium a week ago.
Oh, he's quite incredible. I think we first saw him in Almaty, the Junior World Championships, when he was only 17, 18-year-old. And I remember saying at that time, we just saw it straight away, that chap is super talented. And there he is, leading it out. And he was so disappointed last week in the distance race in Ruka to be knocked off the podium. He finished 4th.
Well, he takes the outside line on the that right-hand bend because the next bend is sharper, and he wanted to be well positioned for that. Maybe a central line is better. Now, just a reminder, when we get the head-on shot at the top of this climb, they need to be around 120, 121 to be competitive, and it's fast again. It's fast again, pretty much exactly the same time as heat number 2. Well, that's for the leader. Polteranen at the back, 3 or 4 seconds behind.
And we saw with Fosli, remember last time, he was still like in 4th or 5th position at this point. He took it easy up the major climb part, and then he started moving through. Had Bolshanov gone too early.
He still seems to be breathing fairly easy. Halvorsen never makes it look as though he's cruising, but he's a very, very talented skier. 29, that's Sindre Bjornstad score, who was third in the world in the sprint rankings last year, so slightly surprised to see him qualifying in 29th place. And what was he, some 13 seconds slower than Clavo, who won the qualifying.
Incredible, incredible. This descent, it buys you about 16, 17 seconds of recovery time. And if you're looking at the biathletes, when they come into the range, 16 seconds, you can drop the pulse by 15, 20 beats in that very, very short period of time.
Score explodes out of the corner, and he's got himself up level with Bolshinov of Russia. But it's Halvarsson of Sweden who's got the best double pole at the moment. Need to go past the marker at, well, they're well ahead. They're in a good position at the moment. 4 seconds quicker than heat number 1.
Well, Bolshinov began slipping, and then he's put his body position more upright. He's getting grip again, more force down through the grip wax.
And
but
it's
messy.
Yeah, he's held on to second place. Halvarsson's got the lead. We've got Bolshinov, who's muscled his way into second, ahead of Sindre Skor of Norway. And Halvarsson is in a cracking position now, provided the glide is good down towards that final left-hand turn. Here he goes, 150 metres to go, and it's Halvarsson with a lead of 10 metres over Bolshinov and Skor.
Well, I thought that Halvarsson stood up a little too early. He's a tall athlete at 6'7".
Skor is going 100%. We're going to find out what Bolshinov can do. Two very different techniques, and it's the old school technique that's winning, but I think that's largely because Bolshinov was tucked in behind Halvarsson.
Yes, I think so, and that was a good comeback from Bolshinov. I thought it was all over at the top of the rise, but no, he's a real fighter.
And Skor, for his efforts, has got a time of 3:39 dead, which at the moment is good enough to take a lucky loser spot.
I think the winning time will be, what, about 38.5, 38.55. We haven't seen it yet. It's a photo finish.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the confirmation of 4th place as well. Bransdal and Skor. Actually, it was Kasper Stordus who came through strongly for Norway. Apologies for that. The number 28 wasn't number 29. And he's the man who stands in a position to claim a lucky loser spot. But still, we have 2 heats to go. This is... well, it's gone now, but that initial part of the final climb, Mike, Halvarsson, just as we saw in the previous heat from Fosley, beautiful technique to get himself a lead of, what, 3-4 metres before the climb really started.
Yeah, and double poling, that seems to be the way. Carry it as far as you can into the climb.
Heat 4. Maurice Magnifica, the fastest freestyler last weekend. Alex Harvey, 4th in the World Cup Ruka Tour, and a good steady start to his season. Paul Trøen Aune for Norway. He's about 8 foot tall. He's going to eat up the distance in no problem. Hakola of Finland, 4th last weekend, so we'll be expecting to make the final again. And it's not Petter Northug, it's Evan Northug. You can see the likeness in the face, and an opportunity for him to steal some of the headlines from his brother. Taubol goes for Norway, wearing 26. So again, 3 Norwegians. We've got France, Canada and Finland in here as well. The best of the Canadians, Alex Harvey, a world champion no less. Oh, disastrous start for Taubol. How embarrassing is that? I'm not...
Well, he might get another chance. So it was deemed as a false start. His skis are icing up.
Yeah.
Well, the jury will hopefully be sympathetic.
What's gone wrong?
Oh, ow.
Well, he's a lucky man because it was his skis that caught him out. Look how that right ski just stops dead because it's iced up. Has he got any time to do anything about that? He can scrape it off.
Very quickly, he needs to.
Are we going to see him scrape the right over the top of the left? Which is...
I think that was Hakola who broke the gun there, broke the wand, so it's false start for him.
Well, he saved Taubol's skin at the moment, but the same could happen again. Now you can see he's just, keep the skis moving, don't let them ice up. But if he comes out of the start gate, lifting that right foot off the ground, it gives the ice that opportunity to form.
It's so difficult in these warm conditions to get the wax right, and the icing is a major factor. Then you're stepping into new snow, so it grips even more.
This time, he's okay, so well done to Taubol, but that certainly will have pushed his pulse up a little. Best start from Hakela, and Hakela with the Norwegian Even Northug up there as well.
Just seeing, sorry, from the previous heat, Eric Bransdal has got a yellow card, obstruction, in the quarterfinals. Now, what do you feel here? It's not totally opened up yet.
Pace looks a little more conservative. Full start from Hakela, so he's got himself a yellow card. It's like watching football, for goodness sake.
Yellow cards everywhere. Yeah, bib for a yellow card. Well, false starts, and had he had another false start, he wouldn't be starting again.
Taugbolt is still there. We know he's got good grip, but the question is, will he have the glide when it comes to that downhill section into the stadium? Now, 125, remember, is the slowest so far at the top of this climb, and we'll get a head-on shot. I think this looks slightly slower than the last two heats, who went through at 119, 120, and they're on 123, 124. So I think we can safely say no lucky losers out of this group.
No, that's hugely significant at this time. 4 seconds is a lot to lose, and that really is 1 minute 20 of pure climbing to that point.
Yeah,
first of the recoveries.
They're going to have to go very, very quick. They're on the same pace now as the first group, and I think they know it. So they've really attacked the penultimate climb, and it's Hakela of Finland who leads the way.
Alex Harvey in red at the back. Now, he's such a clever and instinctive sprinter that you often think, well, he's too far back, but he's got this amazing knack of coming through, and even in the last 400 meters.
But this is the sort of penultimate downhill, Mike, and you want to be in a really open position so you can attack the left-hand corner at the bottom. And from where Harvey is, if he skis well, he's just going to come up behind a roadblock of 5 skiers. So I'm not sure it's the brightest approach, but we'll see what the magician can do.
Yeah, I think in his best form, he could create magic even from this far out. And you know what? I'm not writing him off quite yet. We'll have to wait and see. There he goes.
Yeah, 3 or 4 skating steps. I'm surprised you haven't disqualified him at this stage. It's Hakela who still leads. Number 26 is Taugbolt. There's a little banner on the left-hand side of the track as they make their way up. They need to be under 2:42. They're way outside that, so no chance of getting a lucky loser at the moment. Acceleration from number 4. That's Hakela of Finland, who's climbed that hill without any trouble at all. Just looking to see, is that Taugbolt who's alongside him? I think it may well be.
I think it was that upper body strength. He carried that well into the climb, as we see in many of these heats.
3:39.27, the time that has to be beaten if they want to qualify. And you're still as confident about Alex Harvey?
Bless him. I don't think that would be superhuman to get from the back to the front at this stage, but you never know. There have been falls in this race in the past.
He's 25 metres adrift. He's with 100 to go. It's not going to happen, but we do have a race. 4 in line for that second place, and it's the tallest man out there, Aune of Norway, who's going really well into the finish, and he's used his leverage well. Great finish. Northug is through. Hakela, who did all the donkey work, has missed out, and Taugbolt, who took the tumble at the start, he was there or thereabouts, but it's not happened. So Aune and Northug go through. Familiar country, different names. The last of the first round heats here in Lillehammer. It's been an exciting race so far, plenty of drama, but this likely to be the slowest. So I suspect we'll only see 2 go through from this heat, but you never quite know. The lineup, number 9 is Pensinen. Hediger of Switzerland goes wearing 17 in the middle of your picture at the moment. Number 20 on the far side is Chavanagh. We've got Vuorinen of Finland. Emil Iversen of Norway, he'll fancy his chances wearing 18. And Toni Ketelai of Finland as well, wearing 21. And the Finns that we've seen so far, Niskanen, of course, and we had Hakela in the last run, they've been confident enough to take the pace.
They certainly have, and strangely enough, from 5 Finns who made it into the top 30, 3 of them are in this, the 5th heat. Unlucky for them, you could say.
2 of the top 10 from the World Cup rankings last year in this heat. Iversen is one of them. He was 7th. Chavanagh who's got bib number 20. You can see him on the right-hand side. He was 8th at the end of last season. Bit disappointed with his 22nd in Ruka. And the only man to make the last 12 in Ruka, in fact, 2 of them, Iversen and Vuorinen, both made the semi-finals a week ago.
Jovian Hedegaard there on the right-hand side. He skis so like his teammate Dario Colonia, and that's often the case when you've got a great name in your team. You copy what they do. Well, technically,
he probably spent 3 years watching YouTube. Dario Colonia's all over it, and a great way to learn. For some don't learn anything watching someone else. Others can.
Techniques, though, over the years, he used to be able to quickly identify a Russian, a German, a Norwegian, and even the Swedes closely shading the Norwegians.
1:37 under the bridge. They're 2 seconds quicker than the previous heat, but that is not enough. They're going to have to up the work rate if they want to get more than 1 through. Lucky losers at the moment, Mike. Have we got any times? I think we're still on 3:39 dead for the first of the lucky losers. Emil Iversen, he's travelling fast, but doing as little as possible. This is a very, very tight heat indeed. They've got the long descent, and then that left-hand turn. How have you got them time-wise at the moment?
Yeah, well, I've got them running level with heat 4, I think it was. So,
yeah.
So slightly down. Now it'll pick up here. You think that Iversen is going to use those huge levers to power his way up this climb, but they're closing him in just a little, or are they?
2:42 past the banner on the left-hand side would be useful, but they're a little behind schedule in terms of getting lucky losers. Now they start to accelerate, but it might be too late. Iversen still fighting well. Number 19, that's Lauri Vuorinen of Finland, who's giving the big Norwegian a run for his money.
And only one of the 3 Finns in the action at the moment.
Stordust, Bransdal, the 2 lucky losers, 3:39.27. I think Bransdal might be a little bit nervous, but by our reckoning, they're still a couple of seconds outside that time. And with the big gap between first and third, I think the chances are pretty slim. Chavanaz's the man who's really got to produce something special in the last 100 metres. Ketelai, number 21, in 4th place at the moment, but just trying to edge his way by Chavanaz. He achieves that. Iversen's going to win this one without too much of a problem. And is that Penttinen in 2nd place, or is it Vuorinen? Vuorinen it is.
Yep.
3:41. So Iversen safely through.
And no lucky loser from this one.
3 seconds too slow. I think we pinged that at the top of the first big climb.
Well, quite interesting. None of these heats are really within 10 seconds of Klæbo's earlier qualifying time. Yes, there has been a snowfall. Maybe it slowed it down a little.
And Penttinen, over 2.5 seconds slower than his qualifying run. He was well inside what was required. Had he just gone on a solo run, he could have got himself through. Iversen looked good, Mike. Potential for the final?
I think so. His only slight disadvantage is in the 5th heat. Therefore, now we're going to go over to the women's 2 semi-finals. So he's buying himself a lot less recovery time.
Yeah, 5th heat, 2nd semi-final, and then minimal rest before the final. But he's made it through to the last 12. Back to the women's tour. Sophie Caldwell lined up for the first run. She's got her teammate Jessie Diggins alongside her. Diggins, fond memories of Lillehammer, having won the 5K here last year. Maiken Kaspersen-Faller, the queen of sprinting over the last 3-4 seasons, Olympic and world champion at the moment. Number 2, Krista Palmer-Koski. What a world championships she had. Was just about the only one that could live with the strength and power of Marit Bjørgen. And then Natalia Napraeva of Russia in the blue bib as the leader of the under-23 World Cups, alongside Ingvild Flugstad. Østberg, an all-rounder, Østberg.
She certainly is. She can sprint. She's good over distance. The only weakness is she's not really a climber when it comes to the Tour de Ski.
Yeah. Do you think they should change that final leg of the Tour de Ski ever to give the faster skiers an opportunity, or the non-hill climbers?
Well, it was interesting. Petter Northug said he'd never win the Tour de Ski because of that climb. And then I think he was reinstated, wasn't he, as the winner after Sumbi lost his.
Yeah.
Also thinking of Petter Northug, when you look at the start grid now, Patrick, and the camera goes up to all the athletes' faces, very few of them are making any any facial expressions or any big funny moves. But Petter used to lead that, and he didn't make it today into the top 30. Well, the pace with Fala at the front is never going to be slow, but she's got good names all around her.
Parmakoski looks solid, no slipping from her. Neprayeva on the near side. Usberg wearing 20. Usberg by a significant margin, the slowest of the qualifiers in this run.
And Patrick, when you look at this semi-final compared to the next one, 5 of the athletes qualified within the top 10 fastest time, and that's certainly not the case for the next semi-final.
Yeah, and Sadie Bjornsson, who you were wondering why on earth did she go in heat number 4, she's got herself in a group where no one finished within what was it? No one finished within 3 seconds of her qualifying time. So if things go as per the book, she could just cruise through. Under the road bridge in 1:26. Try and remember that for the next of the semi-finals, because we still have the business of finding out 2 lucky losers.
I think it's fair to say this is going to be the faster of the semi-finals. And what just thinking of Fala at the front, what a world championship she had. She won the individual sprint, the team sprint, and she took Norway out in the relay over 5 kilometers and handed over 7 seconds ahead of the next. I wondered if it was wise putting her over such a long distance. She didn't let them down. So it's still tight, Patrick. This is anybody's race from here.
Yeah, it's all about finding a good line up this final climb, and great work coming in from Fala, who's number 4, trying to open up a gap as she did in the first round quite comfortably. She's got 3-4 meters. She needs to double that, but a little slip and a little error in the mistake allows Parmakoski to close a little. Is it Jessie Diggins who's struggling a little? Number 9, that's Sophie Caldwell just behind Jessie Diggins. Neprayeva can't do anything about Fala's power. This is why she was world number 1 last year. It's why she took the world title in Lahti, and she has blown this field apart. Parmakoski now some 10 meters behind.
Well, she's like a little terrier. She had the pack breathing on her at the bottom of the hill, and then she pressed another turbo, another button, and destroyed the field.
Well, this is performance worthy of a final from Fala, and she needs to bear that in mind, because she's got to do it all over again.
Will she save something? She must realize she's way out front. Only 2 for certain go through. She could back off right now.
So, very convincing indeed. Parmakoski, take nothing away from her. The battle for 3rd place is good between Diggins and Usberg of Norway. Photo finish there between 3 of them. Caldwell with a good lunge got herself into the picture as well, and Neprayeva doesn't have to wait. She knows she is out.
Do you know what? Athlete number 3, 4 and 5, well, 3 and 4 here have an absolute chance of going through to the final, and they knew it. That's why they were all dying to the line.
I think Parmakoski will be happy with that, Mike.
I think she will. She 0.7 of a second behind Fala.
Still waiting for the timing. Usberg, Diggins. We'll have to wait and see. The winning time, 3:21.23. Much quicker than we saw in the first round. Fala, I think, just showing this is what I can do.
Very much, and actually this is faster than Sophie Caldwell, sorry, Sadie Bjornsson's fastest qualifying time.
So Usberg on 1:58 behind. (17) Ida Ingmarsdottir. Stina Nielsen with her. Those two could team up and do some work. Can they hold off Justina Kowalczyk? Looked pretty promising in the first round. We'll see whether she can do it again. The big climb into the stadium really suited her. Heidi Weng started slow, got stronger and stronger as her first round race went on, but she's got some almighty competitors. In terms of qualifying, Mike, they weren't particularly quick, but Stina Nielsen, Justina Kowalczyk, Ingmar's daughter, Sadie Bjornsson, who was the fastest qualifier. This is no slower than that first heat. We could see both lucky losers coming from this round. 3:22.78 is the time thereafter. They'll need to go under the bridge in around 1:25 to be in with a chance.
Now, is it going to be at all tactical? That's doubtful.
Nielsen goes off hard. Ingmar's daughter goes hard. Nielsen, of course, in the red bib, having won last week. And just to let you know, in terms of overall World Cup rankings, Charlotte Kaller leads, who isn't in the knockout phases. Marit Bjørgen second, Haga third, Heidi Weng fourth, Stina Nielsen is in fifth. And a win here might just be enough to put her into the top position in the World Cup standings.
Now, by my reckoning, this is without just the visual on this, I haven't got a split time on it, but it just looks a little slower than Falla going up this climb in the first of the semis.
But we said that last week. Nielsen always looks as though she's going slow. She's tall, she uses a long, loping stride, and never looks as though she's going that fast. She's relying on strength. We'll get an indication under the bridge. 1:26, the last group.
Interesting here that in the men's heats, we don't see them using this inside left track. They're using the second or the third. Is it a better line? Fewer people have skied on this inner line, but it's working for Kowalczyk right now.
Kowalczyk ahead of Nielsen, ahead of Sadie Bjornsson. Number 15 is Heidi Weng of Norway. Don't rule her out at this stage. Still well positioned. Here they come down towards the marker. 1:27. They're a second slower. You are absolutely right, Mike, than the first of the semi-finals. And that means that Østberg will just keep her fingers crossed. Jessie Diggins knows that if they don't pick the pace up, she could be going through to the final.
And I think it's highly unlikely, Patrick, that this can pick up a second from what Falla did from the bottom of this climb up to the finish line.
Even with Nielsen and Kowalczyk and Sadie Bjornsson.
Sadie's coming through.
Here they go. A very messy corner indeed. And no one actually losing out. Heidi Weng, it is in a poor position, losing a little bit of ground at the start of the climb, but this is where her strength is, in the hill climbing. She's done well to get Nielsen in front of her. I think she feels that Nielsen's the one who's going to climb the hill fastest. Good move. Kowalczyk in the middle of your picture. Looked a little sluggish at the start of the hill, but now we'll start to see her make some ground. And Bjornsson being overtaken by Kowalczyk. Nielsen holding her own. Heidi Weng finds herself in fourth place, which is where she's been pretty much all the way through this heat. We haven't really seen anything of Ingmar's daughter or Murad of Norway.
Look at the true grit there from Kowalczyk. She had a terrible line around that bottom bend. She lost a lot of her momentum, but she's back at the front.
Is 3:22.78 going to be beaten? I think it's going to be close because they pushed the pace from a long way down that final climb. 2:52 on the clock at the moment. It's still Kowalczyk leading. And this course suits Kowalczyk in that there aren't any technical downhills, just that one left-hand turn.
Look at the different speed under those skis. Kowalczyk now has got her work cut out, I think.
Bjornsson and Nielsen are going well. Sadie Bjornsson with tremendous downhill skills and just tucked herself into the slipstream behind Kowalczyk, and she's used it well. She's going to take top spot. Nielsen in second. Heidi Weng trying to get herself up into third, but the lucky loser time has come and gone. No lucky losers through from the second semi, so that means that Østberg and Diggins are going to find themselves in the final. Heidi Weng, who won here last year, will have to settle for somewhere between 13th and 18th today.
I feel for Kowalczyk there. She was the strongest up the climb. She had the best line to the finish, but she just wasn't gliding that well. Was that a shake of the head from Sadie?
No, that was they're brilliant. So
well, they were.
I think it was a more of the same, please.
They were fast.
Here we go. Bjornsson on the inside, getting tangled up with Kowalczyk. We may see. Are we going to see a yellow card?
Well, Kowalczyk was still shouting at her there 10 meters later. We might see a yellow card.
Great downhill skills. So Bjornsson, Nielsen, Kowalczyk, the top three. Heidi Weng missing out. Back to the men's tour. and the semi-finalists are ready. They've only had 2 heats effectively to recover, so the men generally getting a short straw when it comes to early starts. Mike, the men and the women alternate. Why don't they alternate in terms of the start in the sprints?
Don't have an answer.
Bolshinov. What a start to his season.
Yeah, great start. He wasn't happy with the skis last time. Hopefully they're right this time.
Here's the X-Factor man. Klæbo of Norway has done nothing wrong so far this year. It's all about just getting through to the final. Fosley looked good in the first round. Fosley strong on that last climb. Leivo Niskanen did a lot of leading in his first heat. Might think twice about doing it this time. And then Sergei Ustiugov, the world silver medalist and the star of the Tour de Ski. Whoa, that made me feel cold.
Well, surely he's not cold. Just getting the muscles relaxed, maybe.
1,500 meters to go. It's not a sprint in most athletes' book, but it is the shortest distance they race in cross country.
Now, Klæbo, this is a different start. He was a little slower in the heat. He's gone to the front. Is he going to back off now, getting a good and safe lead?
Well, it's not a bad idea. That left-hand turn they had before the final climb, as we saw in that last of the women's semi-finals, there is the potential to get tied up there. And how many top athletes lose a position because they've been obstructed or they take a fall?
It can, and you just feel this the first of the semis is going to be so tight all the way to the top of the final climb, at least. I was saying earlier, the men very rarely go into that second track as we look at on the upside. They're always staying in 3 and 4.
Klæbo leading. Ustiugov over on the far side wearing 12. Bolshinov of Russia. We've got a Russian sandwich, or a Norwegian sandwich here with number 11. That's Leivo Niskanen of Finland. Just a little messy from Niskanen, trying to get in behind Bolshinov, but he got too close, had to break his rhythm. 13 is Fosley, as I'm sure you're aware, and then Erik Bransdal for Norway wearing 14, and he's waiting patiently.
Now that was 1 minute 24, so just the images we're feeling, the energy we're feeling, it's not that fast. They're 2-3 seconds off the fastest that we saw earlier.
Yeah,
it just really hasn't come alive yet. They're respecting and wanting to follow Klæbo, but he's not doing anything dramatic yet. He soon will.
Here we go. He's going to rely on the moose step, I think, on the final climb. Just needs to make sure he's in a good position. Intelligent racing under the bridge in 1:56.
Well, they've picked the pace up a little. They've pulled, by my reckoning, maybe a second back from their fairly poor start, but it's certainly going to come alive now. I don't think we can write Fosley off in this one, Patrick. He had such a strong finish. And Erik Bransdal, he's got 1 yellow card. He doesn't want to do anything wrong. Bib 14.
Ustiugov looks confident in second place as they round the chicane and then up towards the final climb here. Klæbo ahead of Ustiugov. We've got Bolshinov wearing 2. Number 13 just coming through into third place is Sondre Turvold Fosley, and he looks strong still. Watch how far they double pole up the hill. Then the high tempo steps start. The ski's not gripping quite as well as they did last time for Klæbo, and he's not getting away from Ustiugov.
Well, that's interesting. I was about to say this will be a masterclass on how to get rid of a field. He hasn't managed to achieve it this time. Fosley, for me, is still looking good.
There are still 5 in this one. We have to consider Niskanen at the back of the pack wearing 11. Now Fosley, he's had a crafty little look behind him, so he knows exactly what the situation is. Good discipline to attack that downhill and accelerate into the bottom section, and it's gained him what, 4 or 5 seconds over Ustiugov, but it's the last 120 meters that count the most here in Lillehammer. 3:24 on the clock.
Well, look at Fosley coming through. Klæbo, for me, stood up too early. It allowed those behind him to get some advantage, and for the first time we've seen weakness in Klæbo.
He's got to be a little bit careful. He's keeping an eye on it. Wanted to do as little as he had to. Ustyugov, moral victory to the Russian. He couldn't help himself but smile. Fosley, Bolshinov have to wait and see. 3:36.3, 3:36.9. That's quick, actually, Mike. The lucky loser times in the first round was 3:39.
that really did pick up. Klebo just wondering, he knew they didn't need to push through, he just had to be top two, and he didn't even stretch his leg out. I thought he was a little lucky there.
But do you think he'll have learned a lesson? Don't try and take Ustyugov on over the last 100 metres.
Oh, maybe, and he had 5-metre advantage going into that that straight, but he stood up so early, Klebo. Just doesn't look quite dominating as last weekend.
Yeah, I think he didn't have as good a grip as he did first time up. So maybe a little extra layer of stick wax to help him on the climb in the final. He's safely through. Ustyugov and Klebo, definite qualifiers. Second of the men's semis. Aune, Iversen, Halvorsen, Northug, that's Evan Northug, Vuorinen of Finland, and then Kasper Stordås of Norway. There's Evan Northug. I thought he looked pretty good. Certainly won't have been so happy to be in group number 4, but he held his own. Emil Iversen looked big and strong, as he always does, never really troubled in the first round. This man was something special.
What a finish he had. We almost thought he was out of it. He's not a familiar name, but he fought back to put himself on the map.
Kalle Halvorsen. Yeah, my one concern, Mike, would be what you want to avoid in the quarterfinals of the sprint is a sprint. Because that's what it takes a long time. If you build the lactate in the muscles, it takes a long, long time to recover from that. And I think that's where Klebo may well have been playing a clever game, not getting involved with Ustyugov too much.
Quite possibly, he certainly backed off 4 Norwegians in this semi-final, the second of the semis.
So Aune, Iversen, Halvorsen, Northug, Vuorinen and Stordås. They're underway, no incidents this time. And Halvorsen, just as he did in the first round, just going to sit at the back of the pack and then bide his time before he makes a move if it's necessary. Now, what splits have we got? The top of the hill in 120. Well, they need to be at the top of the hill in around 119, 120.
Look at this. For me, they're already lost half a second, 0.45 of a second. It's really slow. They're not going to pull this back.
He's enormous. Even by Norwegian standards, he's a giant.
Another giant. He'll probably have got a dispensation. If you're that tall, you're allowed to have skis that are even greater in the freestyle than 10 centimeters below your total height. Look at this, and now they've got to do the maths here and realize that only 2 of these athletes will go through to the final unless they pick it up very soon. Nobody wanting to take this on. I thought Halvorsen might be the one to take the initiative to push the pace, but nope, he's happily in the back there, 4th or 5th position. He must be reckoning, well, Norwegians in Lillehammer, they'll lead it. Well, it's picking up a little now.
Yeah, it's too late, but the 120 is gone, and the slowest time we saw at the top of this hill in the first round was 125. They're 3 seconds behind that.
This is so slow.
Yeah, and that's great news for Fosley and Bolshinov.
Yeah.
You now know they cannot put their skis away. They need to hand them to the technician, get them brushed down, just prepared for the final run.
So I think we can safely say that only 2 will go through to the final from this second semi. But now Iversen's realizing he needs to get himself towards the front. Vuorinen
just keeping pace. Aune has gone from the front to the back, and a big man like that will surely struggle on the sharper corners.
And Vuorinen had a wonderful finish in his heat. Maybe he's waiting to pounce and give us the same again this time.
This is all about the top 2, and just edging himself into the front. It's number 26, so that 28, that's Stordas, and Nortug just behind him. The Swedes hoping that Kalle Halvorsen can do something, wearing 5. You'll recognise the Swedish numbers. So 28, Stordas leading the way at the moment as Halvorsen starts to put on some pressure. 19 is Vuorinen of Finland. He's still in a qualifying position, and he's got a nice line to the top of this climb. And Auna starts to go. Actually, it's not Auna, it's number 18, which is Emil Iversen, who makes good ground. He's gone from 4th up into 2nd. I was going to say, how does a big man climb as quick as that? But Auna's still at the back of the pack.
What a great move from Halvorsen. You mentioned his form here last year. He's finding something of that bag. What a wonderful lead. It's not over yet, though.
Halvorsen, Iversen, the 2 leaders, and I think Halvorsen might have got himself enough of a lead, but everyone seems to get sucked up behind the leader at the start of this home straight. And here it goes again. Iversen goes to the right a little bit early. He should have got in the slipstream of the big Swede, but it's about finishing 2nd. Nothing else matters at the moment. We're going to see a Swede and a Norwegian through. Halvorsen and Iversen, Stordas, Nortug 3 and 4, Auna and Vuorinen 5, 6. So no final slot for them.
And if there's any gains here, is they've got less time to recover, but they were nearly 10 seconds slower than the previous semi. So not quite as much lactic burn.
So the final, Mike, Ustiugov, Kleibo certainly are going to be in there. Bolshinov didn't look so strong. We'll see whether he can recover in time. And then, of course, great run from Kalle Halvorsen. He looks good, but we have to bear in mind that 5 minutes less recovery than the others.
It's a big deal with just now the women's final coming up, and it's not much recovery time.
Although, positive side, they took that first half of the course so slowly, they've saved something.
It was almost like a training a training distance session, the first minute 30.
And if you think you can out-sprint everyone in the last 100 metres, you might as well take your semi-final as slow as possible.
And Halvorsen, he never got in the mix at the front. He didn't want anything to do with it, and maybe that is the strategy. And I think in the final it might be tactical from the gun.
Halvorsen, Iversen go through to join Ustiugov, Kleibo, Fosley and Bolshinov. It's party time here in Lillehammer, and we have reached the climax of the women's sprint event. And here are your finalists. Fowler is there, Parmakoski is in there, Sadie Bjornsson has made it, Stina Nielsen has made it, and slightly disappointed that Kowalczyk got knocked out. Jessie Diggins wearing 7, and we've got Osberg wearing 20. It's one of the best sprint finals we've seen for the last, what, 4 or 5 seasons, Mike, because there's no one in this this final who can't win it.
It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I did think that Fowler would try and go to the front and break them early, but she got roadblocks. She was trapped there in behind Nielsen.
Now, Sadie Bjornsson will be full of confidence, having showed great downhill skills and good finishing speed in the semi-final. So keep an eye on her. She's wearing 7. Parmakoski is going to graft this one out. She won't give up. She'll hang on like a little, I was going to say a bull terrier. I mean a Jack Russell. She's the sort that will just cling on.
She's a Jack Russell, but 172 starts now, Parmakoski. I would love to see her win this one. She's got 2 victories in her whole career. And I've always, when you saw her as a junior, I always thought she'd be giving many, many more victories at World Cup. I'd love to see her win today. There she is, number 2.
Again, Bjornsson wearing 1, struggling up the climb. The skis didn't seem to be working as well. Temperature's got a little bit warmer, so you'd need to go a little bit softer on the wax. That's something that maybe some of the teams have missed out on, but it's highly unlikely.
Maybe, and as you're saying that, Jess Diggins is way detached at the back. I'm surprised and struggling to pull them back.
But if Bjornsson and Diggins can stay with the group over the top of the final climb, then they've got a chance, because with slightly harder wax, the skis are gliding that little bit quicker. So watch Bjørnsen in particular, number 7, on the final downhill. They've got a way to go, and they've got a big climb to come before there. Nielsen Parmakoski up the front of the field. Norway hoping that the world champion, the World Cup winner Falla can do something, and Bjørnsen looks to be waiting for her opportunity. But can she stay with the stronger skiers on this final climb? She's already lost 3 or 4 meters at the base. Parmakoski goes early. Falla really accelerates as she comes to the halfway stage, and Stina Nielsen found wanting at the moment, but we've still got another 60 meters of climbing to go. It's Falla who leads by a country mile ahead of Parmakoski. Nielsen's got nothing left. Sadie Bjørnsen gets roadblocked by the Swede. That could be her chance gone, but surely no one's going to catch Falla now.
What a missile, what a turn of pace from Falla. She was in 3rd, 4th position on the bend, on the corner, and then she just double pulled so far. Now she's got herself 10, 11 meters, and a good lead over 3rd, 50 meters.
Fantastic skiing from Falla. The downhill speed isn't particularly good. I think she's decided that you need the grip in the final, because the arms have been working so hard all the way through the competition. Give your legs a chance to do what they can. 120 meters to go. Falla looking for her first win of the season. That would be a fantastic result for her.
And well done, Parmakoski. She's still challenging, but surely she can't close that kind of distance. She simply can't, but a wonderful 2nd position for her.
No chance. Falla, who didn't even qualify for the knockout phases in Ruka a week ago, is going to leave Lillehammer as the champion for 2017. Parmakoski gets 2nd. She's delighted with that. That might put her into the top spot in the World Cup standings. We'll have to wait and see. Bjørnsen 3, Østberg 4. Slightly disappointing for the Americans, but I think we pinged early on that they were too slow on the climbs because the skis weren't gripping.
They definitely weren't. You were absolutely right. The Bjørnsen came back strong on the descent, that final descent, to make it up onto the podium.
Parmakoski there or thereabouts all the time. That's a great finish from her. She'll be very happy with 2nd place. Actually, Parmakoski's not going to the top of the overall because she had a poor day on the final in Ruka.
And Falla, Maika Kaspersen Falla, 31st last week. She didn't even make it into the finals, the heats, nor the semis, nor the final. 1 week later, she's winning the lot.
Jessie Diggins, number 7. But here's your winner, Maika Kaspersen Falla of Norway. Photo call for the podium finishers in the women's race. Falla, Parmakoski and Østberg. So 2 Norwegians getting up there. Sadie Bjørnsen just missing out. Well, actually, Bjørnsen going through into 2 so Østberg, Bjørnsen have been switched. The photo finish coming out, so Bjørnsen going through, and Falla, Parmakoski, Bjørnsen. So apologies for that. Østberg misses out on the opportunity to pick up 60 World Cup points for 3rd. And there you see the final result, 3:19.90. It was a blisteringly quick time for their final run.
Mike, and we saw last week, unfortunate not to qualify in the sprint. A nice rebound to come back and win on the next weekend.
Yeah, I was really sad after the race last weekend. Our skis wasn't that good as we hoped, and that what's happening outdoors, the sport. But yeah, today I'm just so happy. I'm so satisfied, and it's. From my house, it's 20 minutes skiing from here, so I feel really at home, and yeah, it's just fantastic to be in Lillehammer.
Yeah, we could see on that final climb you were really putting the gas down every time, each round, and it didn't slow you down at all in the final. Big gap at the finish.
I've been doing a lot of training in exactly that hill, so very many hard trainings for the last season, so I've been, like, the last minutes is that climb, so today I really got to used for it, so I'm really happy now.
Great job. Welcome back to the top of the podium.
Thank you.
Home advantage for Falla, and she took full advantage today. Very impressive. And it's not the first time we've seen that sort of performance from her. One race to go, a couple of minutes before the men will be lined up, and it's going to be another tight race. Klæbo, Iversen, Halvorsen, and Ustiugov, of course. Bolsjunov has got through as a lucky loser. So plenty of fireworks in this final 6, Mike. Are we going to see Klæbo take win number 4 from 4?
Well, for the first time, what we've seen so far today, what we've kind of viewed here, he doesn't quite look as strong and even confident as last weekend. We can never write him off, though, but I think that the others are sensing that there's maybe a chance they can pass him today.
Well, we'll see. I think he's an incredibly mature racer for someone as young as he is, and I think he didn't want to get involved, but if he comes round that final bend and into the home straight with Ustiugov and Halvorsen, I think he might struggle. But I'm just feeling we'll see that explosion again on the final climb.
I think the only way to beat him, and they'll all be thinking about it, is to take this pace fast from the gun, to not allow him to be at the top of the final climb. I think is the only way to beat Klæbo today.
Well, 7 days ago in Finland, he destroyed the field in the first minute of the final, and he held a lead of he was so far out of the shot that we thought he'd actually been caught up.
he was so far ahead, and that was a different course profile. Today it's different. His wonderful running, steep uphill running, it took him so far ahead of the field last week because of the length of that climb. Now it's more undulating this time around. He's still the youngest ever World Cup winner in sprint racing. Petter Northug was 21 and 63 days. Of course, Klæbo did it last year at age 20.
Number 2, the younger of the 2 Russians, Alexander Bolsjunov, looking to win the under-23 World Cup standings this year. He'll have Klæbo to contend with. There he is, wearing the yellow bib since day 1 of the season. Don't forget, he won the sprint standings last year. I think that's easy to forget because the last of the races was out in Quebec, and some of us missed out on that one. Kalle Halvorsen for Sweden. He's looked strong. I don't think he's overexerted himself, and he'll certainly be fighting for a good slot come the top of the final hill. Ustiugov, he looks in much better shape than we've seen so far this season.
He looked very flat last season. Less recovery time for Iversen.
Yeah, that's a factor. And then on the far right, Sondre Turville, Fosley. So Ustiugov, Klæbo, Fosley, Bolsjunov.
3 Norwegians, 2 Russians, and a Finn.
No rush from Ustiugov out of the start. Bolsjunov, on the other hand, has gone hard. And Klæbo, he's the one who's decided the only way to win this is to go off from the gun. It's going to be a long 1,500 meters. Bolsjunov is going to stay with the Norwegian as long as he can. Halvorsen is in there at the moment. And Ustiugov taking it fairly steady. He'll just slowly work his way back to the front. Bolsjunov playing Klæbo's own game. Halvorsen, I think, has said, I'm just going to stick behind Klæbo and stay with him as long as I possibly can. Now, what's the time going to be to the top of the hill? The fastest we've seen so far today is 1:19.
Halvorsen was trying, I'm sorry, I said a Finn in this field. Of course, it's Halvorsen, the Swede. His plan, I think, was to just tuck in and try and stay with Klæbo, but of course it's Bolsjunov who's taking all the initiative. And I think that's playing more into the hands now, advantage Klæbo, for Bolsjunov taking this early pace.
And I would say advantage Ustiugov at this stage because he did not burn too much fuel over that first 400 meters. Over the top of the rise, 2.5 seconds quicker than any of the heats or the semi-finals so far. They are going to be on maximum at the moment, and it's going to be a question of who has got something left for that last climb.
Iversen, I think he's suffering from that lack of recovery, although he's realizing this pace is crazy fast, and maybe he thinks it's going to slow down or they're going to tie up later.
Klæbo, another little injection. Still not steep enough to use the moose step. Ustiugov is trying out, he's testing them, and he's got himself a 3-meter lead at the moment. Under the bridge for the second time. Still 5 seconds quicker than we saw the fastest heat in the first round. It's a punishing pace being set by the Russian at the moment.
Well, the temperature dropping off a little here as well, so the tracks are getting ever so slightly faster, but this is rocket. This is so fast. Off the two last Norwegians.
Left-hand turn leads into the final climb. Little bit of recovery, what, 20 seconds, 22 seconds on the downhill, and then the hard work starts all over again. Klæbo will be hungry to make it 4 out of 4. Ustiugov will be just as hungry to stop the run of the Norwegian. And now we start on the final climb, double poling over the first little rise, and then the moose step will start. Here we go. Is that a good move to tuck in? He's looking for the same track as Ustiugov.
I'm surprised. He knew that he wasn't getting grip, so he was aiming over for this soft snow at the side of the track, the same as Ustiugov. Klæbo now is going to have to find another gear, but he does have a strong finish.
Well, it was Ustiugov who was the strongest double polar on the last time down into the stadium. This time, the roles are reversed, and Klæbo is in the slipstream, so he might be the one who can accelerate into the home straight. And Bolshinov is in a fantastic position as well. Only had one podium finish in his career. He's lying in third at the moment. There goes Klæbo. He uses the slipstream, catapults himself into first position. Round the final bend, watch the skating steps, and now the double poling starts. Ustiugov's got nothing left, and Klæbo was holding back in the semi-final. We know that now. He's going to take win number 4 from 4. What a way to start. No one else has had a look in. Russia 2 and 3, Halvorsen 4. But that was all about the maestro, the man with the X factor.
Well, he saved it. I think, in fairness to Ustiugov, his skis were icing. We saw him nearly fall backwards on the descent over that final little bump. And the same on the home straight. It wasn't a factor, though, to hold Klæbo back. He had everything under control.
He's saying that Mr. Dixon doubted me.
Never. And he is the only man to take the season's first 2 sprints alongside Hattestad, who took the first 2 back in 2008, 2009. The first 2 sprints of the season.
And Hattestad, of course, the Olympic champion. Is this man going to be bearing gold on his way back from Korea, on his current form? That is certainly going to be the case, but February is a long, long way off. Can he keep this sort of form going? Well, it's a big question mark.
And you've got to hand it to the Russians. They knew exactly what they had to do to give themselves a better opportunity, take the sting out of them before the top of that final climb. They nearly achieved that outcome.
How many fights did Ustiugov have with Sundby last year? This year, he's got a new opponent, and his name is Klæbo.
What about the 30K tomorrow, though, Patrick? The skiathlon, 15 classic, 15 skate. Klæbo's going to be tired.
So Norway taking both gold medals here today. Well, that was exciting stuff. The women's race was brilliant, Mike. Falla showing just how strong she is and showing that she knew exactly where to push and where to hold back, it being home snow for her. Klæbo, well, what can you say? He did something again. He did something different in each of the rounds, and he saved his best for the last round. And
I think it was a pity for Iversen and Fosley. They were in that second semi-final. The recovery time was limited, and the recovery that these 3 had was certainly an advantage, and it very much destroyed Iversen and Fosley in the first minute of this final. 1 Norwegian, 2 Russians on the podium.
4 races, 400 points accrued. That yellow bib staying on his shoulders, even if he takes a day off. He's over 100 clear of everyone else. But that won't be happening, and he'll be in action again tomorrow.
Yeah, 15 classic, followed by 15 freestyle.
So the first of the long distance races of the year, the first of the skiathlons. And
soon be rested today as well.
Yeah, that could be a factor. That might stop. I was going to say stop the rot, but it might stop the run of Klæbo. 3:33.88, incredibly fast final run today, and nice to see that he still had something in the tank. Great fight by Ustiugov. Wasn't intimidated by the youngster, but didn't have the sprint finish that he showed in the semi-final. Bolshinov went with the initial pace, Mike.
He did, he tried to, and then he took the initiative. Bolshinov now, Ushchigov lost a lot of momentum over that final little dipper.
Yeah, just a slight loss of balance. One ski came out of the track, and what impressed me was how quick Kleibo was to see, now's my opportunity.
He has an instinct, an absolute killer instinct for sprinting, and the right line, the right move at the right time.
So Russia getting 2 on the podium, but it's Norway who are going to steal the headlines. I try to think what the Norwegian papers are like at the moment. Just page after page going through the short life of Kleibo, who is...
Quite interesting when they're all three lined up side by side there, Bolshinov, Ushchigov, Kleibo. They're very much the same build. There's very little in it.
Yeah, Bolshinov, it's nice to have another under-23 athlete doing so well. So he's second time on the podium. Let's have a chat and see what the winner has to say.
All right, Johannes, this is the 4th post-race interview, and it's the 4th in a row for you. But you got pushed a bit today.
Yeah, today was a really hard one, and I think Sergey was very strong, and I was struggling a little bit in the semi-final there, but yeah, it's amazing to cross the finish line first in the final.
Yeah, and we always talk about you being 21, but you showed really some nice racing tactics, not necessarily needing the lead on the downhill to use the draft.
Yeah, I was in the semi-final. I was first on the downhill, and then Sergey come pretty fast up and won the semi-final. So for sure, I changed a little bit the plans for the final, but it's cool to be the first.
Congrats on yet another win, man.
Thank you.
Interesting, the slingshot there down that descent. He read it, he saw it previously, and learned from it.
Yeah, and every race course is different. Fowler, well, she didn't leave it to chance. She felt she could get enough of a lead coming up over the top of the final hill. That was exactly the way it turned out. Good finish from Palmakoski to claim second, and Sadie Bjornsson, fastest qualifier, but she finishes third. There's the little tussle between Bjornsson and Kowalczyk, both showing good strength. But if you're going to have a downhill fight with anyone, choose Kowalczyk. But cracking days racing. Skiathlons, remember, tomorrow. And women racing over 15K total, the men going over 30. There's no stopping him. Ustiagov got the better of him in the semi-final, but actually it was a ploy. Well, that's all from Lillehammer for today. Hopefully we can just confirm the start time of the events tomorrow, so you don't miss out. Lots of ski jumping, in fact a very busy weekend in terms of winter sport. But what a day for Kleibo. 4 wins from 4. At last, here you go. 9:45, remember those are European times, so 8:45 tomorrow morning for the women's skiathlon, which goes first. And Marit Bjørgen will want to improve. Charlotte Kaller will be feeling that she can take on anyone in the world after her success in Ruka last week. But keep an eye out for the likes of Osberg and Nielsen. There are so many who could come away with top honours. Well, that's all. Thanks for watching today, and Mike and I will see you tomorrow.
I hate the music business, the way you've always gifted all the